And today we're going to talk a little bit about OpenStack in the enterprise. So you want to convince the boss to run OpenStack, introducing OpenStack to the enterprise. A little bit about me. You can find me on Twitter at vmiss33. I blog about OpenStack and containers and virtualizations at vmiss.net. I work with enterprises all the time, and when I'm not doing these things, you can find me at a space shuttle launch or launching high-altitude balloons, taking pictures at 88,000 feet. So about you, if you're kind of at the point in your OpenStack journey where you want to start using it in the enterprise, you've had OpenStack running for a while on your lab or in your laptop and you're comfortable with it, you can sit down with someone and give them a tour of OpenStack, show them how to do different things in the Horizon dashboard. You're comfortable talking about the different OpenStack programs and what they do and how they interact. And you think OpenStack would be a good fit for your organization and you want to go beyond your lab. Finally, you have an understanding of your organization's business requirements and how they relate to IT. So getting ready for the talk with your boss. Focus on a business problem. What exactly do you want to solve with OpenStack, and how is it going to benefit your organization? Talk to the other groups that will be involved in the OpenStack deployment. Your developers, your operations team, your infrastructure team, and don't forget your business stakeholders. So having the talk. Start small. Don't try to boil the ocean. Don't come and say, we're going 100% OpenStack completely in production on day one. That's not going to go too well for you. Anticipate objections. If you were a ops person or a devs person or a business stakeholder, what would be your concerns with running OpenStack? And finally, don't get discouraged. You may create your business case. You think it's great, but it's not the right time in your organization. You'll have to try again later. So let's go through a little example of someone who's trying to get OpenStack into their organization. Alice, the infrastructure architect. My background's in infrastructure, so that's what we're going to go with. XYZ Corp is looking to deploy a new internal web application for time tracking. This will be constantly updated with new features based on employee feedback. Alice thinks this is a great use case for their first OpenStack deployment. Why? 1, it's an internal low-risk application. 2, Alex actually used to work on the development team, so she has a really good idea about what they need and what they would find successful. And 3, she believes OpenStack will allow the development team to spin up their environments much quicker because they want to make all these changes. And the QA team will also be able to spin their environments up much faster, monitoring all the changes and testing them as they come into play. So finally, it's time for the talk. Alice is going to talk to her boss, Bob. Bob objects because he thinks OpenStack will be way too difficult to install and update. So Alice proposes using an OpenStack distribution to streamline the deployment and upgrade process. This will take care of a lot of Bob's fears with the deployment methodology. Bob's also worried that this will impact the multi-hypervisor strategy they've been looking to implement. And Alice takes care of that because, you know what, OpenStack can work with multiple hypervisors, and it might even help them further this strategy. And finally, Bob is starting to bite on OpenStack, but he's not quite convinced. So Alice suggests deployment in parallel on the new OpenStack environment and using their traditional deployment methodologies. So Alice was pretty lucky. This went really well. But what if she was dealing with a stack blocker, someone who really didn't want to go through the OpenStack path? So first objection, no one uses OpenStack. Plenty of big organizations use it. We saw our keynote yesterday where they were talking about Walmart using OpenStack. That's an everyday household name that Bob is bound to know. Lots of everyday enterprises use OpenStack too, and we'll be hearing more about those in the Super User Awards later this week. And finally, as we remember from yesterday, that over 50% of OpenStack workloads are production. Don't touch my infrastructure. You don't have to rip and replace with OpenStack. You can install OpenStack in parallel of your existing infrastructure. I can leave my VMware environment exactly how it is and build a new OpenStack environment next to it. And finally, we don't do science experiments here. Well, I think we all know that NASA used to be a science experiment and so is SpaceX, and they've both been tremendously acceptable. Innovation isn't a bad thing as long as you're tying it back to your business requirements. Finally, Alice's next steps. Bob finally gave his blessing and we're ready to move on. Alice holds meetings with the devs, ops, and business teams before bringing them together for a kickoff meeting. Alice wants to talk about each team and understand what their concerns are, what their fears are, and what they really want to get out of this deployment. The ops team was a little nervous, so Alice worked with the ops team to pick an OpenStack distribution that fit their needs the best. This really helped go a long way furthering the relationship with the ops team. In the end, OpenStack was preferred to the organization's traditional methods, and they'll be looking at new applications in the future to deploy on OpenStack. So key takeaways on how to get started with OpenStack in your enterprise. Have a problem to solve with OpenStack. We love technology, but we're not going to get budget to install technology for the sake of technology anymore. Be ready to have many discussions throughout your organization. We want everybody to be on board with this for a successful deployment, and there might be people in your organization who haven't even heard of OpenStack or aren't really sure of its capabilities yet. And finally, seek continuous feedback throughout the process. If one team's not happy, no one's going to be happy. And don't forget, as you're starting this, the OpenStack community. Everybody is here to help. If you look at this map, you can find a worldwide meetup group almost anywhere. And then there's also online resources. There's news groups, there's Twitter, there's Facebook, there's blogging. Anything you can think of, you can reach out to someone and get the help you need. Chances are someone else has already taken their journey moving on OpenStack to the enterprise. Thank you.